Welcome to Earn the Right. This is a multi-track audio channel for midlife founders, professional experts and solo practice owners who want to take control of their voice, their reputation and authority and unlock the opportunities that come with that. We have 4 tracks and each track is like a mini show. Today's track is In the Arena. So this is adapted from my Earn the Right Substack. Today I will be covering one essay that has appeared on the Substack newsletter, and in other ones we're going to down the track we'll have dispatches on credibility, creativity, communication, and the craft of showing up. So let's get on with this show. G'day, my name is Trevor Young and welcome to Earn the Right. Today's track is called In the Arena. Now, In the Arena is my unfiltered take on earning authority in real time, and they're sharp, strategic riffs on content, credibility, connection, communicating with your audience, and the courage of showing up. So this is essential listening for you if you're an entrepreneur, a solo practice owner, a professional expert who's wanting to build personal brand authority in the marketplace. I bring 30 plus years of PR, media, and marketing communications experience to this podcast and to everything else I do on my Earn the Right Substack. If you go to earntheright.co, you will get to that Substack, and this podcast is the sister platform to my Substack. So if what you hear today is of interest, then I'm pretty sure that you'll like what I'm writing about and what we talk about on the Earn the Right Substack. Alrighty, so today's episode is called Micro Acts of PR, Small Moves That Build Big Reputations. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here's a quote. The podcast appearance this month might lead to your dream client next year. I know, shock, horror that you might have to do something now that doesn't generate results immediately. But if you know me and you know the way I think, it's about the aggregation of the work you do, the body of work, the accumulation of the brand touch points, the personal brand touch points you have with people and the credibility you build along the way. So this quote, the podcast appearance this month might lead to your dream client next year. Now, I do love that line because it's from Ellen Donnelly, and she's the publisher of a terrific newsletter called The Ask, and she's bang on there. Why is this such an important quote? Well, because it perfectly sums up, I think, how visibility, trust, and reputation actually work today. Now, to be fair, it's the way that it has always worked. But today, I think you'll find with so many platforms and online interaction opportunities, it's become even more vital as a way to stand out and get noticed for all the right reasons. And what I'm talking about is taking the longer view and not trying to make every bit of content knocking it out of the park, but it's to stand back and look at the aggregation of all the work that you do. So as Ellen says in this particular article, every article, talk, and meaningful conversation is a deposit in your authority bank account. Now, remember, PR is all about deepening the level of connection you have with the people who matter most to the success of your business or your cause or your issue, if that's your end game. So as we go through today's episode, use this as a lens for the ideas that we're going to go through. So deepening the level of connection you have with the people that matter the most to the success of your business. And as Ellen says, every article, talk, meaningful conversation is a deposit in your authority bank account. And I 120% agree with that. So let's talk about what I call micro acts of PR. Now, I might call them mappers as well, M-A-P-S, mappers, but micro acts of PR. Let's get into it. When it comes to PR content and digital communications or communications, online and offline, it's not just about the big ticket items that everyone loves to talk about. So we're talking about the big keynote presentations, the podcast interviews, the mainstream media coverage. It's about, as I mentioned earlier, the aggregate effect of all of these things that you do over time to generate awareness, build connection, and foster trust, and create a credible brand authority around what it is you do, what you say, what you stand for. Now, some of these actions might be chunky. Recording a podcast like I'm doing now, writing a long-form blog article that like I do on my Substack, Earn the Right on Substack, or delivering a keynote in industry events. These are great things, love them. I've done them for many, 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 many years, and I know a lot of you probably have done things like this as well. So I'm not saying don't do these big chunky content creation and earned media, take advantage of these big earned media opportunities. Please do, but it's not all about that. You know, when you look at the, in quotes, gurus online, they all talk about the big things, but I want you to think a little bit smaller, lighter, easier to overlook, these little things that we can do on a day-to-day basis that kind of, maybe we think of it as like a brick wall, and the bricks are the big chunky content plays that we go with, the big articles, the interviews, the podcasts that we create, the big YouTube videos, etc. But the mortar between them is the little things that we can do on a day-to-day basis, the micro acts of PR. Now, often these very actions, the micro acts of PR, mappers, they're the things that keep you top of mind with the people who matter most to you, your clients, your customers, the influencers, the people who influence your clients and customers, partners, employees, whoever it is you're trying to deepen the level of connection with. Micro acts of PR is a great way on a day-to-day basis to stay top of mind with them and to continue to deepen that level of connection you have with them. So I'm just going to now list 20 micro acts of PR mappers that you can start doing today. So micro acts of PR, let's just summarize this again. They're small intentional acts that deepen the connection and build relational capital over time. Now, they're not marketing tactics in a traditional sense. They're human moments. Often they're human moments, often offline, off algorithm, and in isolation, they're low stakes. But they move the needle in ways that matter, particularly in aggregate over a period of time. They're the simple things that we can do every single day. Now, I want to get this clear. They're not tactics to optimize, they're habits to cultivate. And the goal isn't to tick them off, bang, bang, oh, I've got that, I've done that, but really just to weave them into how you already show up professionally. Now, you're probably already doing some of these things, but can you do more? And can you be more intentional about it? In fact, you probably are doing a lot of these things, but the key here is, can you do more and can you be more intentional about it? So here are some ideas that you can put into practice in your business or your day-to-day profession today. They're under headings. So heading number one, deepen existing relationships. Here are some things you can do in that regard. Send a former client a quick note asking how a project turned out after you'd finished working together with them. Number two, forward a helpful article to a former client or someone who has influenced your clients and been a source of referral for your business over a period of time. Send them a helpful article with I thought this might be useful. It's a great way to just add this tiny little value bomb to show that you're thinking of that person, you know them, and you've got to make sure the article is a good one and it really would be useful to that person. But what I find about, and I've done this for decades, absolute decades of sending articles to people. In the old days, I would have photocopied it and sent it in the post. That's a long time ago. But today, there are much easier ways to do it. And even simple things like, on LinkedIn, sending an article to someone via LinkedIn as well. So it's just a simple, low-key way to stay valuable between projects and also to stay top of mind with these people. Number 3, leave a voice memo. Leave a voice memo instead of a text when following up with someone you haven't spoken to in a while. What I found very effective is when you want to talk to someone or just say hello, LinkedIn's a terrific way to do it, but rather than write them a DM, why don't you record your direct message? That's I find. Replying to someone's newsletter directly. So you might, subscribe to newsletters or receive them from clients or other people that are in your network or your broader community. Given that I write a newsletter and have done for years, people do write back, but I love it when more people write back. Some people never get any responses. And so when they do get one, they actually remember it from the person who, a genuine good comment about something you read or a takeaway in their newsletter, just to let them know that you're reading it and you're taking it all in. Number five, under deepening existing relationships, reconnect with a past collaborator with no ask attached. Just, you don't want anything. There's no hidden agenda, just genuine curiosity about what they're working on. That's it. Just reconnect. A link again. LinkedIn's very good, or email or text. What are you working on? What's happening? What's keeping you up at night today? It's just a general curiosity thing that might open the conversation for other things and see what's happening in their world. Okay, second headline is elevate others publicly. So we're up to mapper number 6, and this is share someone else's work on LinkedIn with a specific note about why it resonated, not just this is a great post. Seriously, I know that when you're on LinkedIn and if you share people's content on LinkedIn, the algorithm doesn't like it, but that's not a reason not to do it. Seriously, it really bothers me. And look, I understand, if I share this and it's got a link in it, then, or it's shared on LinkedIn, people are going to, the algorithm's going to screw it down. Generally, not all the time, but quite often. I won't do it. To me, that's not the reason to do it. You're not doing it for mass coverage. You're doing it to lift someone else up, to share their work, but also to do a genuine message of why you felt this article resonated with you. You've probably done it. You might still do it now. Do you do it often? Do you do it intentionally? I go through periods when I don't do it, and I know I have to get back on the horse and be more mindful about sharing other people's content on LinkedIn. Now, if you're mainly on Twitter, you can retweet other people. If you're on Blue Sky, you can re-Blue Sky them if that's the thing. And if you're on Substack's a terrific way to be able to share other people's works that you read on Substack. So it doesn't really matter. I'll probably focus more on a LinkedIn or a Substack because they're what I'm mostly on, and a lot of people are today. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it in other ways on other platforms. Okay, number 7 is recommend a peer for a speaking slot or a podcast or an opportunity you've been offered but can't take. Say someone says, "Oh, look, can you, you've built your profile, you've got authority in your niche, your area, your space, your field of endeavor, and someone has emailed you, said, look, I'd love to interview you." And maybe you feel that the interview with them is just not right for you. It's not up your alley, and you might not be the right person for their particular audience. And that happens. I think you've, got to be aware of that. Tell them if you're going to knock it back. But if you can give an alternative, that's even better. And I know, this probably stemmed from referrals, being that I've been in the PR and marketing communications consulting game for a very long time. And, people would come to you and say, interested in hiring you, blah, blah, blah. And I look at the brief and it's just not right. It's not up my alley, or it's not up the alley of my agency, whether, we haven't got time to do it at that point in time, and we're too busy, or it's just out of our field, not what we specialise in. I'll always say, well, it's not for us, but here's someone who I think it will be good for. So so whether it's a business referrals or a speaking slot, or someone who is creating some or presenting, putting up some community events, and they're after speakers. If you know someone who would be a good speaker for them, let them know. And that's the thing. Always be recommending other people as well. Pitching yourself is great, but if you can promote other people as well and help them get an opportunity to put their voice out there, that's just part of being a good citizen, a professional citizen. Number 8, quote someone's insight in your own content and tag them giving proper attribution. Well, I've just done that with Ellen Donnelly. She had a good quote. It's something that I say all the time, but rather than me say it, I'd rather shine the light on someone else and get someone else's point of view, and then hat tip them and tag them and link to them. And, if they get some subscribers out of it or some visitors to their newsletter, that's fantastic. So, always be looking at ways of bringing other people's ideas and insights and contents and quotes into your own content. It's a really powerful, it's a simple thing to do. It broadens the scope of your work, but it also helps lift someone else up. So that's a cool thing to do. Number 9 is write a short, specific LinkedIn recommendation for someone whose work you respect. Do it unprompted and don't have any expectation of getting anything in return. I used to do this a bit, but to be honest, I haven't done it as much, and maybe it's something that I should be looking at, and that's doing a LinkedIn recommendation for people. I think they've earlier days it was a bit of the rage to do, but it certainly dropped off a lot, like a lot of things with LinkedIn. But it's not a bad thing to do. Is there someone you've worked with, collaborated with, you admire, they've been a client or whatever? Write a short recommendation, positive one, a glowing recommendation. It won't go public live. They have to, as I understand it, they have to approve it, which is obviously they're going to do if you've been nice to them. And then that goes up on their LinkedIn page, but your name's on it as well. So if you do it out of the blue, that's fantastic. I know people will do it with the expectation of, I've given you one, now can you give me one back? That's not what this is about. If it happens, fantastic, but go in with it, just be genuine and without the expectation of getting anything in return. And mapper number 10, introduce 2 people in your network who should know each other with a clear reason why. This is something I've done I just done it automatically. I haven't really thought about it. When I know 2 people are going to be better off because they know each other, then I'll put them together. Now, whether that's on LinkedIn or I'd probably do it a lot more on Twitter, and certainly in Twitter days when my network was much bigger because I was incredibly active on Twitter, then I'd be always putting people together, and, sometimes privately, sometimes publicly. But, if it's on Twitter, you just, you tag someone and say, hey, you should get together with such and such. You guys rock. You think very much alike, and just leave it at that. Today, it's more likely to be putting them together on LinkedIn and having a reason why. It's again, if people are of like minds, putting like-minded people together is a terrific thing. And I've done it in the past, and people have really just built relationships from it. And sometimes it goes somewhere and sometimes it doesn't, but that's cool. It's the fact that you're thinking about other people and trying to, broaden both of their networks by introducing them to each other. Okay, we're halfway through our micro acts of PR. As I said, PR is all about deepening the level of connection you have with the people who matter most to the success of your business. So, that being the case, all of these things are about deepening the level of connection you have with people. Subheading number 3, create small moments of visibility. So we're up to mapper number 11. Comment on a peer's social media post and a question or perspective that moves the conversation forward with a question or perspective that moves the conversation forwards. So we all know we should be commenting on social media, and again, we'll probably skew more to LinkedIn, but do we do it intentionally? Do we just do it randomly? I try and do it, if not every day, certainly every couple of days. But part of my being on LinkedIn is about trying to be a good LinkedIn citizen and looking at what it's not about just what I create and publish and then I walk away. And I don't think it ever should be. That's not what LinkedIn's about. You've got that network online and you're seeing other people's content. Granted, you're seeing strangers' content more often today than all of your connections, but there's still people that you deal with who are writing good stuff, who are creating good content, whether they're a stranger, whether you know them, whether they're in a client or a former client or someone you've worked with, or they're just in your peer network. If they pop up and if they have gone to the effort of writing a post or doing a video or something and had a perspective, a point of view that you have a perspective or a point of view on, or a story that you can throw into the mix, please do it. And again, it's not great post or, thanks for that. It's great to be able to support other people's work with a like and a comment. But what this is about is to show that you are a deeper thinker and you're adding value to the conversation. You're moving the conversation forward in the comments. And so, if you can do a comment and then other people comment on your comment and the publisher, the person who published that post, comments on your comment, that's getting involved. That's, it is juicing up the algorithm for their post, but it's also getting you seen by other people to be adding value on LinkedIn, which is, again, we all do, but are we doing it regularly enough? Are we being intentional about it? Alrighty, create small moments of visibility. Share a short lesson learned from a recent project, even if it feels too small to mention. Again, we're talking about micro acts, little things that you can do. We don't need a big case study on it, but there might be a tiny little lesson you learned on a project that you've just wrapped up, for example. Obviously, confidentiality and all of that sort of stuff, but it's nothing to be overblown. It's just a small little intellectual jab. Hey, I learnt this, and it goes a long way. And those sorts of little human moments really work, and people gravitate to them on social media. Mapper number 13, post a genuine thank you on LinkedIn or any other social channel to someone who has helped you. And name what they did specifically. So, maybe, you were running an event and you needed something in a hurry as part of that event and someone helped you out at the last minute. Hat tip them, as we have said on social media. That was, again, another thing we used to do on Twitter. Hat tip people. Thank them publicly for something that they've done. Very, very important. Mapper number 14. Respond to industry online discussions in the comments rather than just observing. This is a bit more of an extension on driving the conversation further, by commenting on a post from someone else's LinkedIn. But this is really probably where there's more broad online discussions. And sometimes this might be in a LinkedIn group, for example. So, the forums are a little bit different. You might be in a Slack channel. You might be on Discord where there's more broader industry discussions taking place. Don't just sit back and be a passive observer. Get involved, really. Again, be intentional about it. Are you in any forums that are industry-based? And again, LinkedIn groups or Slack channels, or there might even be a WhatsApp group around a conference or an event that you've been to. There are all of these little tiny forums and private communities that are happening. Get involved. Get involved is all I'm saying, and rather than just observing. Mapper number 15, getting down to the last micro acts of PR. Number 15, send a brief congratulations message when you see someone in your network achieve something. Now, often people on LinkedIn will say, I've got a new gig, and I know some of those posts are pretty boring, but you don't have to wade into the comments so much. It might be better to DM them, shoot them a direct message to congratulate them, and, make it heartfelt. Keep those connections and those, that network this is the fuel. These little micro conversations are the fuel for your network to stay top of mind. And hey, I'm thinking of you. Now, maybe they've also done an ad campaign, or they've written a book and it's just been published, or, keep an eye out for little milestone things or milestone events in other people's lives, and then for people and then wade in either in the comments or DM them directly with a little message just saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. Congratulations, mate. That's great. Fantastic. Boom. And the last 5 mappers, this is under the heading of build reputation through generosity. To be honest, all the things we've been talking about are really, they do skirt the theme of generosity. So, but this is, building reputation is really important. And that's what these micro acts of PR are all about, and being generous and being intentional about, and these are little habits that you can generosity muscles that you can work out every day. Number 16, mapper number 16, answer a question in a professional community forum without linking back to your work. So before we said, if there's a forum or an industry network group or something, get involved with the conversation. But often in a lot of these types of environments, people are actually in there asking questions. Answer those questions. And sometimes, don't have a decent whack at the question too. Don't just have a one-line answer if it requires a little bit more depth. Answer people's questions. They will really remember you. And the thing is with this is you don't need to know who they are. They're in this environment. You answer the questions. Look, to be honest, you can do this on LinkedIn. You can do it on any other type of forum as well, social media channel. But look out for questions where you can answer. You have some knowledge and you can answer those. You don't have to link back to anything unless it's relevant. It's not about building backlinks for you. But if someone's got a genuine question and you can answer it in the comments, but if you have a deeper article that you've written specifically on that topic, by all means add it in. But really you want the question to be answered within the scope of the comments. Number 17, offer a quick perspective to a journalist or content creator working on something in your space. Let's just look at the journalists, for example. A lot of people think PR is all about getting publicity. And 30 years ago, maybe a lot of it was that, definitely. Today, no, it's not. So if anyone ever says PR is just about getting column inches or getting your mug online or, getting a news clipping, run away, because PR is way more than that. I've said on this podcast before that PR people wouldn't even talk to journalists today. But the whole thing about dealing with the media, rather than just trying to get a quick hit of publicity, in the PR game, we call it media relations. It's about building relationships with journalists who are covering your beat. Now, a beat is, maybe you're an environmental consultant, or you're a financial planner, or, you're in the fintech space. My voice just went then, fintech. You're in the fintech space. Let's just take the fintech, a SaaS product, software as a service in financial technology space. Then, there will be journalists who cover that beat, that topic. Now, there's less journalists around today than there ever was. But if, they are still covered by newspapers. So let's just go old school. And we're talking about newspapers and journalists who cover fintech, for example. So you've got knowledge on that. You might have heard some great research that's come out. Just ping the journalist, hey, there's this new research on this topic, thought you might be interested. That's it. It's not about can comment on it or anything. This is about building relationships with journalists to give them good information, or to even reach out and, give them a perspective on something else that they've written about, saying, you like the article, it's interesting, this person took this view, I have another point of view. Look, it might end up one day that they might come back and say, oh, tell me more. But the whole idea is just to open up a conversation in a really relevant way. Now, it could be another blogger. Today, it's just as likely to be a blogger or a YouTuber or a podcaster. If you've listened to a podcast and you've really liked it, okay, and that person, the podcaster, doesn't know you, you can shoot them an email or connect with them on LinkedIn and say, listen to this episode, I really loved it. I loved your take on this. This is something that I've found too. It's so customized to that person. I could sit here all day and give you 1,000 different variations of what this looks like. But at the end of the day, the things you've got to keep in mind are they a journalist or a podcaster or a content creator of some kind? Do you know what they cover? Do you know their beat, the topics that they're passionate about? Have you genuinely got some perspective or some information that you feel might be helpful to what they do on a day-to-day basis? Send it through, again, without any expectations of getting anything in return. It's about opening up a dialogue. All right, no one ever went wrong being useful and helpful. And if you keep that at the top of your list, then things will happen from that. That's when the magic happens. But the moment if I do this, I want this in return with any of these micro acts of PR, seriously, that's a hard way to live. And you wouldn't be listening to this podcast anyway if that was your mindset. Okay, moving right along. Number 18, share a useful template, resource or framework you've developed with no email capture. So it might be, you've got a template that you've created or you use. It might be someone else's that's publicly available, not if it's something that they sell, but if it's a framework you've created, sure, share it bare bones. You might not have the room to go into a 5,000 word screed on it. What I'm saying is the little things that count. And are there some tools or tips or apps that you use that you find useful, then someone else might find useful as well? Might be a service that you use. It might be, maybe you are a podcaster and you've got an editor who does a really good job on editing your podcast. This is the thing, share that resource, share that service with your connections on LinkedIn, but you're also helping build their business as well, and they'll like you as well. So it just has so much value from doing these tiny, small things. Again, it's about being intentional about it. Number 19, share a competitor's post, some content they've created, a video, whatever it is, when it's genuinely good. Now, yes, I did say share competitors' content. Now, hopefully you haven't just fallen off your seat. If you are, or if you're on the treadmill, you've scun off the back of the treadmill. What do you mean? What do you mean sharing my competitors' stuff? Yes. Yes, I did say that. Look, this again is generosity is the new black. What it does when you share a competitor's ideas, insights, content, videos, a book they've written, whatever it is. This signals confidence in your part and generosity, and people take notice of that. It's, if you're worried about competitors on all fronts, seriously, again, that's a hard way to do business. And I'm not saying rush out and do it, but if, I've seen it in my industry, in the PR industry, and, there's people who are essentially competitors. They both run agencies, but if, someone's achieved something or they're speaking at an event or, they've done something terrific, there's no problem in sharing that and saying, maybe they did a speech at an industry event you went to, right? And that's content. And you're sharing that speech. You're sharing the takeaways from that speech. Fantastic. That is a really generous, good human being thing to do. I'm not saying, hey, you pitched up against someone and they won the business and you have to, publicly thank them for winning the business. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is don't be too concerned about competitors and if they are doing stuff that really matters and you by you sharing it with your networks, it's going to add value to, your people, your audience, then why not? Now you can get back on the treadmill. And now you've fallen off, you can get back on the treadmill. Finally, the 20th mapper. The 20th mapper. Microactive PR. Offer 15 minutes to someone early in their journey. It might be a quick call, a voice note with some perspective, whatever really feels manageable to you. But it's really this notion of offering your expertise to people. And I think that, it's a small thing that you can do, but it's, and maybe there's someone who's a bit more junior in the space, starting out, an emerging talent in your industry, and they're on LinkedIn. Again, it's on LinkedIn, but it might be elsewhere. And they're talking about something they've done or they're grappling with or they're learning. And if you can help them, ping them a note. Say, hey, listen, jump on a call for 15 minutes and, happy to talk it over for you. These things aren't public. It's not a public thing. And a lot of these things aren't public. They might be done through email or direct message or something like that, or behind closed doors. But that doesn't stop these people from talking about you later, and they will take notice. Again, it's that proactive, intentional side of, just being aware of how you can help someone. And I've just given 20 different ways, and within each one of those 20 things, there's a number of different ways to do it. So hopefully that helps. Just before I finish up, a quick note on frequency of all this. Of course, you don't need to do all of those 20 micro acts of PR that we've gone through. And if you want more on this story, I'll put the link in the show notes, but this is a story I've written on Substack on my Earn the Right Substack. So check it out there. But, you don't have to do everything. They're just ideas, and there's plenty more where they come from. So the idea is maybe start consciously picking one or two or three of the things I've spoken about, things that feel natural to you. Maybe you're already doing them, but are you doing them consistently and with a bit more intention? Remember, the compound effect comes from repetition, not volume. I'm not saying go crazy, do all of these things. You just cherry pick what's right for you. It's the overarching concept I'm introducing to you today, and all of these little tactics fall underneath it. And just finishing up, micro acts of PR are the things that people remember. And they're what build, shall I say, warmth and trust and goodwill, all of those good fuzzy words, and they all show up in a way how your personal brand is perceived in the industry or the marketplace in which you operate. And I said the word earlier, I believe, about compounding. It's the aggregated effect and the compounding effect over time. So remember that podcast you contributed to 6 months ago. Well, someone might discover it today and reach out next quarter. The short form post you wrote in a moment of clarity, it might still be circulating via someone's, they've screenshot it and they've put it in a Slack group. That genuine thank you note you sent after an event, it might be the very thing that nudges a speaker to invite you into their network. And that's the compounding effect of micro acts of PR. So they don't feel urgent, but over time, I think they do become important. And in the attention economy, and, it's an area that's increasingly fragmented, increasingly noisy, so many hucksters and opportunists and wannabes. This is the kind of quiet, consistent presence that cuts through. So I'll leave you with this. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Often it's the little things, the note, the nudge, the helpful share, the thoughtful comment that carry the most weight over time. Hey, stay visible, stay generous, and let your micro acts of PR do the talking.